Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Armourer. My name is Victor, as always, joined by Blue.
Hello, hello.
And today we're looking into the ban and restricted announcement. Couple of very expected changes, and one probably not so much expected when it comes to Blitz. The expected ones, of course, Lexi Livewire, Most Living Legend, Volta, Strike Twice goes with her because that's her signature weapon. And then we got the Bullseye Braces back, so Azalea can play them. Pretty much expected.
Yeah, it's entirely expected. They already told us that this is exactly what they're going to do when Lexi rotates. The only question was if Icelander is going to be able to acquire enough points in order to rotate out as well. The answer was no. We kind of knew that a couple of weeks prior. And Soul Reaping is definitely interesting because Blitz was like the next season, I believe, is Skirmish right after Worlds, and Chain is definitely one of the best, if not the best, decks in that format, and Soul Reaping is a very high rolling card in that deck. Just the ability to get like 6 go again. That also generates your resource and like gets your cards in the banish zone.
Is that if you play against Bolton or Prism? I think that's right.
I mean, that's when you
have a card in their soul.
Yeah, that's when you get the free go again. But technically, you can just use Chain's ability and give it go again anyway.
Through a shackle, of course.
Yeah. And that's definitely cool. It kind of shakes up the Blitz meta a little bit. I'm still suspecting Chain to be just insane and probably obtain enough points to become Living Legend at the end of the skirmish series.
LL this skirmish season, but then again, you never know. It might happen. At this point, I just really need to mention something by popular demand that Dash, like the old Dash, probably will do very well in this skirmish because they still have the Pounder, the Tekla Pounder. It's not banned. It's still not banned, and I think it should be.
I mean, maybe, but Dash is still not like technically the most successful deck, right? We still have Kano and Chain and Kasai. And technically last season we had some surprise Vincent wins, so maybe we see some more Vincent this time.
But yeah, we'll see about that. But I mean, when you compare Vincent to Chain, there's a room for comparison.
Moving to a Living Legend update that we got.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Technically, up till now things were a bit different, but starting soon, the ban and restricted announcement will happen each and every Monday when it comes to Living Legend heroes, which is quite limiting in a way.
Yeah, just to like cover the entire update. We're like the most exciting part is that they say we're expecting 15 plus new heroes in 2024. So that's quite a lot, right? Like that's, I think, maybe more heroes than the past 2 years combined.
Well, it definitely is, but then again, what does this has to do with you practicing your favorite deck for weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's this event that your hero LLs on it, and then the meta changes, and then you have to face the ProQuest or the Nationals or whatever season without a deck.
Yeah, that's. I definitely agree that like this change is one of the worst things I think they have ever made. I'm traditionally very pro LSS, and I'm on board with like the majority of their decisions. But this one I think they have to revert as soon as possible.
Same thing here. I mean, the worst thing since Star Wars.
Kind of like even Star Wars was not that bad because it was just like a format or two, and it was fun. It was fun stomping people with Star Wars. But yeah, like I hope they revert these changes uh, before they create bad feelings inside people. Because right now, I feel like there are some people who are probably not like extremely competitive or something, that are thinking that this is going to be a good change because it's going to freshen up the meta.
It
Like
won't
in,
freshen it up. It will create chaos.
yeah, it's. I mean, it's going to just change it on the way, and that's going to be very impactful. It's going to be very impactful for everyone, not just for the people playing the meta deck, because if we were to apply this change to like recent events, right? I believe Lexi attained Living Legend status like a week or two before like the calling in Melbourne, and then the other calling. So like
Yeah.
if we had this during that time, you would have been practicing for like 2 weeks or something like this for a calling. For a meta game where Lexi is going to be like the driving force of the meta, and then suddenly a week or two before that, turns out that Lexi attained Living Legend, and now the meta is no longer the same, right? Like your Uzuri deck is no longer insane because it's going to be facing like 50% Lexis. Your Dormai deck is not prepared for like all the ninjas that are going to be coming out, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely make like last minute changes to your deck list and so on, but I'm not sure you can kind of like put in the prep games to test into like the entirety of the roster of Flesh and Blood just in case the meta changes like a week or two before
Of
your
course.
actual event.
Nobody does that. I mean, it is insane. And as usual, with all the games, you have top decks, you have counter top decks, and then you have what dark horse decks. And then when it comes to you playing a counter of like a gatekeeper of a certain deck, and that deck goes away, there's nothing for you to do in that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be like a different experience. And the thing is, you can't even make predictions of what people are going to be playing, right? Because people, especially with like a week for like preparation, people won't probably just move to like the next best deck or like the next best dark horse or something. Like people will just move to whatever they have in their binder, right? Like it will not be a conscious meta decision. It will be just yeah, sure, like I'm no longer playing Lexi, but they have like this Bravo laying around, right? It's
Let's go Borvo Bonk.
yeah.
It is very weird, and we'll see how things go. And I'm really hoping they will change this one as well.
Yeah. I definitely hope so. Like the rest of the update is that they're increasing the amount of Living Legend points that are going to be rewarded for events. We have
And that's
World
again,
Championships moving to 300, Battle Hardened moving to 40, Nationals, like the smaller Nationals, moving to 20, PTIs moving to 20, and Skirmish moving from 2 to 4, which is going
yeah,
to
man.
help change attain Living Legends.
LL this season,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not that huge of a change, and I'm seeing an asterisk there at the 300, so if we can see what this means. Living Legend
Uh,
point. Uh,
yeah, okay, so basically it says that if it features Blitz and CC, it's going to be like 200 CC, 100 Blitz.
or if there's some sort of a limited, obviously some points might go towards limited as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always going to be featuring draft, but like we don't have like rotating draft, so it doesn't matter.
Right, so overall it's not a huge increase, and the thing is that I can get that they're trying to speed things up a bit, considering we're getting 15 new heroes, or 15 plus even, with the following sets, but still I don't think rotation will happen that fast.
I mean, it's definitely contextual. There's like people are now concerned that Um, Decks are going to attain living legend points extremely fast, and they're going to like just rotate themselves out for like 4 months or something like this, which I definitely don't think is going to happen. Like even decks like Lexi and Dromai that have been attaining a lot of points recently have been out for a couple of years already, and it's like only a natural kind of process for a deck to
Yeah, because
just
when you think of Lexi, Lexi's been around for years now.
yeah, she was, and she stayed quite a long time as like the top deck, right? I mean, obviously it's going to be a player preference for how much time you want to play as or against Alexi. But in my opinion, usually just like switching up the meta every 3 to 4 months is good enough. And the thing I think people forget, kind of, in my opinion, is that the ban and restricted list still exists. So if a deck, especially if a new deck, something like Dash.io that performed very well in the last calling, didn't manage to win, but regardless, if that new deck ends up winning a lot of tournaments and starts attaining a lot of living legend points right from the start, it is entirely possible, and it will probably happen, that LSS will just nerf the deck, right? The same as they did with Chain, right? Like Chain had an extremely explosive start. When he came out, then he got nerfed, right? Like we removed the seeds, and then it took him like another year to rotate during Starver format.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
we
These
had
mechanics are there.
we had Briar come out and just explode into the scene with like the Cheerios Ball Lightning Briar and like attain like 500 to 600 living legend points in a very short amount of time. Then they did the Rathe, they banned the Ball Lightning, and it took her like an extremely long time from that point to rotate out.
In a very weird way and manner, but still, she
Yeah,
rotated.
yeah. But she was also very playable throughout the entirety of the time, right? Like she won Pro Tour 2, I believe, as the nerfed version without Ball Lightning. So it's not like the deck was killed. It was just nerfed to be on the level of like other things, and it took it quite some time. We had a similar thing happen with Icelander, right? Like last year, Icelander won US Nationals and Worlds, and like attained like 300 to 400 living legend points in the span of like 2 months. And then they removed Hypothermia, and the meta shifted, and she's like the
She's still struggling to get to living legend.
yeah. Like it's very possible that she will live post Worlds. I mean, because like Worlds is just the event, right? Like if she wins Worlds, maybe she evals, but it's entirely possible that she survives even like the post World format, because it's all contextual, and especially when we're going to be in a situation where we're going to be getting 15 new heroes next year. That means that we're going to have less and maybe even no supplemental sets. And supplemental sets are usually low impact, right? Because they just give everyone a couple of tools and they don't really change up the meta. But a set with like 3 new heroes usually shakes things up way more. So,
That's
yeah.
absolutely true. And the thing is, considering what you just said, you need to be better prepared. You need to have more cards because you want to have a variety of heroes that you can play and so on and so forth. And I'm sensing a bit of negative comments regarding that one coming from the community.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of people have this notion of I'm not even sure what you call it, right? It's a card game. There's no card game in which you can just have like one deck and just play that deck ad infinitum, especially if you want that deck to be good, right? Like technically you will probably be able to play like something like Reiner, Levia, uh, and Riptide for an extraordinary amount of time.
You never know what cards they'll print in terms of support. So yeah, but
Yeah,
technically, you
you
look at
you
right now.
yeah
You
you
could look
you
at Katsu.
you definitely never know, right? But then again, like these are heroes that haven't had like insane showing for like a lot of time, and even things like Arachne, which are just fundamentally worse than Azuri right now, until they print like very specific Arachne cards, it will probably stay that way for a very long time. But yeah, like in every TCG, you have to be prepared that if you're playing the best deck, it's not going to be the best deck for long. And something else that people really forget, in my opinion, is that what rotates out is the hero. It's not like the rest of your card pool. So your card pool is going to be available in like a year, maybe two, right? Like it doesn't matter. You don't know, but they will reprint a functional replacement, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking this about Rosetta Thorn, and I was thinking, okay, so Duskblade's out with Brad, but no.
Yeah, I mean, Briar was not the reason for this blade to be removed, right? Like this blade is
Well, I'm
not
saying
okay by itself.
it should have been, yeah. So that's gone, and it should have been like, should have at least leave the Rosetta in the game because I love this weapon, and it's a really nice love-hate relationship that the community has with it.
Yeah, or like hate relationship. Anyway, my take on that is the same way we saw with Prism, right? Like new Prism may not be as playable, and thank God she isn't, because like
I
Spectre
mean, in
just
terms of
creates.
playable, I have no problems with her being playable. I have problems with her being oppressive the way the old one was.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like if she's playable, she's going to be oppressive simply because Spectre is an oppressive keyword. And yeah, and the thing is that, like for example, with Prism, because a lot of this has to do with like the value of your cards and the value going down and so on. And like when your hero obtains Living Legend, your cards are definitely going to go down in value because no one's going to be searching for them, right? Like
Exactly, and this is
the
not a
demand drops.
financial. This is not a financial advice, but these are the moments that you want to get cards that you liked but never bought because they were too expensive. When the hero LLs and there's no use for that particular card at the moment, use
Yeah.
this window to get it because it will get back on top with time. I mean, it's the cycle of all markets, you know. You want to buy low and sell high and vice versa.
Yeah, and like right now, New Horizon is like 60 or maybe like even fewer doors, right? Like it used to be
Right.
like
A month
190 or
ago,
something.
yeah, exactly.
And like it's a good card, right? New Horizon is just an amazing card. Like yes, the current Rangers outside of Lexi were not making incredible use of it, but like future Rangers might. But yeah,
Yeah, but how
my
useful is it if you have the Voltaire strikes twice gone?
I
You
mean,
might still have two arsenals, but if you cannot shoot those.
there's a lot of ways you can make it useful, right? For example, in Riptide, it would have been amazingly useful if, for example, Riptide's effect put cards face up in the arsenal, or if his ball put cards face up in the arsenal, right? Like, if he had something that allows him to like easily put cards face up in the arsenal and maintain New Horizon for a second arsenal, he would have been a lot better because he would be able to store defense reactions alongside arrows, which
Okay,
is
guys, you
something he
heard it here
can't.
first. Get New Horizons and wait for a better ball for Riptide because it's gonna be on top of the meta.
Yeah, I mean it's just going to be better, right? And it's just one of the ways that the deck can be better.
Exactly. This only supports what I just said. You
Yeah,
never know what card will be very playable. And in my opinion, in my observation, and I've been playing this game for several years now, everything rotates and everything is there goes comes and goes in cycles. So get the cards that you like today when they're low.
yeah, definitely. And another thing about cost that has been talked quite a lot lately is kind of like the cost of playing competitively. And my take on that is I feel like a lot of people start with this assumption of what if you're a new player or just like any player and you want to start playing competitively and you have to shell out like $700 for like the best, most optimized deck in the game. Uh, I feel like if you're trying to like if you're getting into the game and you want to play competitively, that is most definitely the thing you shouldn't do, right? uh, the game in my opinion is like complex enough for especially for new players, so it like jumping right into the best deck out there is not going to make you win at all. It's just going to frustrate you that you're not winning with the best deck, right?
And that you
And
spent a lot of money to obtain it.
yeah, so like in my opinion, what you should do is kind of like hone your skills slowly, and like the first thing you should do is obtain a playable deck, because a lot of the most optimized decks in Flesh and Blood are so expensive because they have cards that optimize their like win rate with like a singular percent, right? It's entirely not needed, right? Like there's Bravo decks that will be playing Tunic just in case they're playing against an Icelander, and then again we have people like Papu during the calling who didn't even play Tunic against Icelanders, and he was like, yeah, I'm just fine with having like the 3 block, right? So that's an example for a deck list change that at that point like increased the value of the deck with like $300 for like a singular matchup that some people don't even value. Previously, Icelanders, the most optimized Icelanders would play Crown of Providence just for like the old him matchup and just for the situation where the old him may play CNC Pommel while you have non-blue in the arsenal, right? And that's like
Yeah. Very situational, very optional. But then
extremely,
again,
yeah. And the card costed like $250. So like, and some Icelanders will have like Cartagena, which is like another $400, and you know that's like $700 for like 2 cards that increase your win percentage by like 2% collectively. It's like in a specific matchup, right? It's not like overall.
yeah, but the thing is, if you want to play competitively, obviously you need to be prepared to pay the price, because this is what optimizes. You said might be a percent, might be like 0.5%, but it still gives you better chance and gives you an edge in some way, no matter how small the chances are that this will actually help you. And you need to be prepared for this, and you need to know, because the thing is, you cannot go racing with your, I don't know, everyday car that you go to work with, because it's not a race car, and you just use it for different purposes. So if you wanna play, try and optimize a deck, optimize it to the best of your financial capabilities or desires. Don't always nag that you don't have the highest top tier, because you won't go to all the pro events. If you're going to the pro events, by all means, just pay the price and have the cars. But it's not a must, especially for new players.
Yeah, my whole point was that like these like 1% increases are extremely relevant in like the majority of the tournaments, because the majority of the tournaments are going to be with like 30, 40, 100 people even, right? And in those tournaments, it's going to be like 5 to 7, 8 rounds, and like going X2 is going to be enough, right? And in those like Pro Quest, Road to Nationals, like even some Nationals, like I feel like a lot of the Nationals are going to be like 30, 40 people events. And topping these is not that hard, right? Like, you need to go like 3-2 or like 4-2 or something like this on the day. And
You need to get a favorable matchup and
yeah,
then get
it's
lucky
like,
with the draws. And
yeah,
yeah,
just you just need to get paired well, and then like be lucky one game, and there you go. You know, like you top this event. You know, it's a 5 games event. You definitely do not need like $800 optimization in order to top some of these events, right?
yeah,
Like the 1 or 2% increase is going to matter in like these like worlds and calling events that are going to be like 15 plus rounds, right? There it may matter. But like the majority of the other tournaments, it doesn't matter. All you need is just a functional deck, right? You don't even need CNCs. Like CNCs are a generic card that is like generically just good in every deck, but it's like not the main strategy of any of those decks. So like the majority of the decks you can just build for like $300 maximum, and they will be like perfectly playable and optimized enough to allow you to, at the very least, top, if not win some of these events. And a lot of these events are going to be rewarding prizes for like the top players that sell on the secondary market for like hundreds, right?
yeah.
And you can just afford your staples that way, right? Like a lot of our players have done exactly that. We have like sold cold foil Zuris and Riptides and Prisms for like 100-ish dollars and or euro, and just afforded our CNCs that way. And like we managed to top these events, like our Bravo managed to top these events with like no CNCs. I don't
Yeah, but the
believe.
thing is, this is even the better part, and it's the most interesting part, trying to get to the cards that you want. Because if you just go and just spend some money and buy everything that you need, there's no fun in it. There's no struggle.
I mean, some people prefer it that way, right? But like, like if you're down to be spending that much money, you should like be confident that you can actually use the deck to win, and you should also have done a research of like how long the deck is going to last, right? Like obviously if you enter the game like the past 3 months and you're like, okay, I want to play the best deck, and you shield out like $1,000 to play Lexi, you should have made the research about like, yeah, Lexi is going to go away in like 3 months, like roughly. It's something that everyone knew. And yeah, and the thing is, my main point was, you don't need to be spending that amount of money if you want to play competitive, right?
Absolutely.
Because you can just go for like the Katsus, you can go for the Bravos. These decks are very inexpensive. Like Dash used to be very inexpensive, right? Like right now there's a lot of hype around the new cards and the new Dash, and the cards have gone up in price. But before that, Dash was probably like the least expensive deck out there. And all of these decks are like perfectly capable of topping, and we see them topping all the time, right? Like we have seen even in the recent calling in Asia, I believe we had like a Reiner in top 8, right? And Reiner is not an expensive deck.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely one of the decks that if you feel lucky and if you feel like gambling, you should definitely go for that one.
Yeah, like generally what's stopping you from winning is like skill difference, and it's not money difference, especially in this game where like the variance is very low.
Yep. Well, that's a brilliantly positive note that we can end on, unless you have something to add to the episode.
Nah, that's about it.
Perfect. So thanks everyone for watching. As always, comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you with the next one.
Bye bye.